The Pittsburgh Steelers are good at two things: winning Super Bowls and drafting quality wide receivers. And the latter was never more apparent than on day 3 of the 2010 NFL Draft, when the Steelers found a diamond in the rough with the selection of Antonio Brown. The now arrogant Mr. Big Chest was a humbled man on this day, as he fell all the way to the 195th pick in the 6th round, and in the process saw 21 receivers selected before him. And in today's video, I'd like to take a look at who these receivers are and how their careers have turned out. But first, let's take a look at how AB made it to where he is today. From the Liberty City area of Miami, Brown is the son of one of the greatest Arena League football players ever, Eddie Brown. And although he only lived with his mother growing up, the apple still didn't fall far from the tree, as once Antonio got on the field at Miami Northland High, he was a star quarterback. Following his career at Norland, Brown was denied scholarship opportunities to play at FSU and Alcorn State, and instead attended North Carolina Tech Prep. After 1 year there, he received an offer to play at Florida International University, where he would have been teamed up with T.Y. Hilton, but unfortunately for AB, he was expelled from the university before he could play a single down. Now with nowhere else to go, AB was contacted by Zach Azzani, an assistant at Central Michigan University, who offered Brown the chance to walk on at CMU and play receiver, a position he had never played before. Once at CMU, Brown initially struggled, constantly being late to meetings and practices as he adjusted to the new position and lifestyle. But with the aid of Coach Azzani, Brown blossomed into a star at CMU and had 3 seasons around 1,000 yards. Following 2009, Brown declared for the 2010 NFL Draft. Scouts disliked Antonio's lack of size, strength, and route running skills, which led to him being ranked as the 24th best wide receiver in the draft. And NFL executives definitely agreed with this based on where AB was selected. But Brown made the most of nothing and has since become one of the greatest wide receivers ever.
Oh, and it's caught! No way, Brown inside the 20! And he's in! Roethlisberger gets it flying. Oh, Antonio Brown! Roethlisberger throws, caught! They say it was not caught. Officials say yes, it was!
To show how great Antonio is, let's compare his stats to every other player in NFL history's first 9 seasons. His 837 receptions ranks 2nd. His 11,207 yards ranks 4th. And his 74 touchdowns ranks 10th. Quite the start to a career for a guy who saw 21 receivers come off the board before him. Now, let's see who these guys are and how their careers have turned out. And a quick disclaimer before we look at this list: I believe that every single one of these teams would have selected Brown over their original guy. So for the first receiver selected before Brown, Demaryius Thomas to the Broncos with the 22nd overall pick in the 1st round. Playing college football at Georgia Tech, Thomas was regarded as having elite size and physicality, with the ability to rise up and get the ball, which was enough to convince the Broncos to spend a 1st round pick on him. Since being drafted by the Broncos, Thomas has been a beast. Between 2012 through 2016, he was a top 5 wide receiver in football, and he was a key component on the 2013 and 2014 Denver Broncos, 2 of the greatest offenses in NFL history. For his career, Thomas has totaled 688 receptions for 9,330 yards and 62 touchdowns. And although he probably won't end up in the Hall of Fame unless he has a career resurgence with the Patriots, he's still been everything the Broncos wanted and more. But Antonio is significantly better, and imagine AB teaming up with Peyton Manning. So the second receiver drafted before Brown, Bryant to the Cowboys with the 24th overall selection. Coming out of Oklahoma State, Dez was a very similar prospect to Thomas. They were both considered to have elite size and ball skills, and so far this has been an extremely accurate assessment. Since turning pro, Dez has been an elite wideout, and was one of the most physical receivers in the game between 2012 through 2016. So far, he's totaled 531 catches for 7,459 yards and 73 touchdowns. And I bet you can't think of a more hype moment in sports than when he throws up the X.
Looking Bryant's way, and Bryant has it! Touchdown! This way. Swings one toward the end zone. It's just on! Almost caught. It is caught! First guy. Bryant. Touchdown!
But for as good as Dez has been, Brown would have fit in perfectly with America's team. The third receiver taken before Antonio, Arrelious Benn to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the 39th overall pick in the second round. Benn is the first bust on this list. Playing college football at the University of Illinois, he had 3 okay seasons. But what really got him drafted in the second round was the fact that he had great height and speed for a receiver. So far as a pro, Benn's bust status isn't completely his fault. He started out with 2 average seasons in 2010 and 2011, but after an injury-marred 2012 he was traded to the Eagles. After tearing his ACL during training camp in 2013, he went on a 3-year journey of not playing a single down due to various health issues, but he finally played again for the Jaguars in 2016. Since then, he briefly played in 2017, but hasn't since. Now imagine Brown staying home and dominating in his home state. So the 4th receiver selected before Antonio, Golden Tate to the Seahawks with the 60th overall pick in the second round. Tate played college football for the Fighting Irish, and when coming out he was a very similar player to Antonio, due to the fact that he was a smaller guy who could play out wide and was great after the catch. Since being drafted by the Seahawks, Tate has been a stud. With 3 seasons over 1,000 yards, he's made his fair share of big plays in the Pacific Northwest, Motown, Philadelphia, and will next season for the Big Blue. But for how good Tate has been, imagine the highlights Brown would have created because of his ability to get open and Russell's ability to keep plays alive. The 5th receiver selected before Mr. Big Chest, Damian Williams to the Titans with the 70th overall selection. Playing college football at USC, he quickly became Mark Sanchez's favorite target in 2009, due to his abilities as a playmaker and his quickness and agility, which was enough to get the Titans to use a 3rd round pick on him. So far as a pro, Williams showed promise in 2011, when he had 45 catches for 592 yards and 5 touchdowns. But this was the end of the line, as his career trajectory from this year on was a straight line down, and he hasn't caught a pass since 2014. Now for the 6th receiver selected before Antonio, Brandon Lafell to the Carolina Panthers with the 78th pick in the 3rd round. JoJo Lafell attended LSU, where he was noted as being a big-bodied receiver who's tough to take down. And so far as a pro, he's done this. Playing for the Panthers between 2010 through 2013, he was a very solid player. But in 2014, he had his best year when he was a key contributor to the Patriots Super Bowl run.
Brady. To Lafell. Touchdown. Brady throws. Caught. Lafell. Touchdown.
I honestly don't think the Patriots win the Super Bowl that year without him, and he's definitely a very underrated and unknown player. Following his tenure as a Patriot, he's bounced around for the Bengals and Raiders, and at the moment is currently a free agent. So for the 7th receiver selected before Brown, Emmanuel Sanders to the Pittsburgh Steelers with the 82nd overall pick in the 3rd round. Ironically, the first of the 2 receivers drafted by the Steelers turned out to be the inferior player, but nevertheless, still pretty good. Sanders played college football for the SMU Mustangs, where he easily had his best year as a senior. As a prospect, Emmanuel was considered a fluid athlete with top-end speed, something most Steelers receivers possess, hence why they took him. Since becoming a pro, Sanders has been pretty good. In Pittsburgh, he never went over 800 yards, but once he signed with Denver in 2014, he's transformed into one of the best receivers in the league, becoming a centerpiece for some of those great Broncos teams. He was definitely worth a 3rd round pick, but knowing what they know now, the Steelers wouldn't have let Brown fall any further. So for the 8th receiver before Antonio, Jordan Shipley to the Bengals with the 84th overall pick in the 3rd round. Jordan is just another one of the many nobodies from this list. Playing college football at Texas, he worried NFL teams due to his lack of premier speed, the fact that he wouldn't scare NFL DBs, and that he was injury prone. And so far as a pro, these have all been true. Jordan showed some promise in his rookie year with 52 catches for 600 yards and 3 touchdowns. But like scouts predicted, injuries derailed his career and he hasn't played since 2014. Now for the 9th receiver drafted before Brown, Eric Decker to the Broncos with the 87th overall pick. Sheesh, the Broncos pretty much had their entire offense come out of this draft, with Thomas, Sanders, and Decker all spending time in the Mile High City. But before his time in Denver, Decker spent his college days in Minnesota, where he played for the Golden Gophers, and was viewed as a bigger receiver with great receiving skills. And thus far, these have been 2 very accurate statements. In Denver, Eric started out slow, but once Peyton got there in 2012, his numbers shot up, and he turned that production into a $36 million contract with the Jets. where he had a few okay years and has since bounced around for the Titans and Patriots, and is currently retired. For the 10th receiver drafted before Brown, Andre Roberts to the Cardinals with the 88th overall pick in the 3rd round. Roberts played college football at the Citadel, where he displayed outstanding speed and quickness, which is what got him drafted so high for playing at such a small school. As a pro, Roberts has put that speed to good use, as during his playing time for the Cardinals, Redskins, Lions, Falcons, and Jets, he's demonstrated elite return ability, even being named an All-Pro last season. Currently he's playing for the Bills, and he should be a great kick returner for the coming seasons. So for the 11th receiver drafted before Mr. Big Chest, Armanti Edwards to the Panthers with the 89th overall pick in the 3rd round. Armanti is one of those athletic specimens who played quarterback in college, but had to transition to another position to play at the pro level. And scouts were definitely anticipating this when they said in his pre-draft report that he may have to switch positions. And the scouts were proven right, as throughout his 4-year NFL career, he mostly played receiver, and is currently in the CFL. And for the 12th receiver drafted before Brown, Taylor Price to the Patriots with the 90th overall pick. Coming out of Ohio State, Price never had great production, but he did have great size and speed, which was enough to get the Patriots to settle for him after they couldn't select Decker, the receiver they had originally wanted. As a Patriot, Price only lasted 2 years, and he had a short stint with the Jaguars and Seahawks, but hasn't been on a team since 2013. For the 13th receiver before Brown, Mardy Gilyard to the Rams with the 99th overall pick in the 4th round. Gilyard played in college at the University of Cincinnati, where he had incredible speed and was even compared to Devin Hester. But he never lived up to that Devin Hester comparison as a pro, when he only lasted 1 year in St. Louis and has since bounced around for the Jets, Eagles, Chiefs, Montreal Alouettes, and currently is a member of the Jacksonville Sharks. Okay, so for the 14th receiver selected before Brown, Mike Williams to the Buccaneers with the 100th first pick. No, not that Mike Williams, this Mike Williams. He played his college ball at Syracuse, where he was supposed to be one of the greatest receivers in school history, until he messed it all up by getting kicked out of school for cheating, and when he would later return he quit the team. But he had size, speed, and hands, which resulted in him being scooped up by the Buccaneers. As a pro, Mike showed a lot of promise, almost going over 1,000 yards in both his 1st and 3rd year, which resulted in him getting a $40 million contract. But Mike's worst enemy was himself, and after getting hurt and suspended, he hasn't played football since 2014. So, for the 15th receiver taken before AB, Marcus Easley to the Bills with the 107th pick in the 4th round. Marcus played college football at Connecticut, where he was never a dominant player, which shows with him only being considered a 6th or 7th round talent. But in classic Bills fashion, they drafted him in the 4th round, which went about as well as expected. Marcus has been an okay special teams player throughout his career, but is nowhere near Antonio's level. And for the 16th receiver before Brown, Jacoby Ford of the Raiders with the 108th pick in the 4th round. Ford is another one of those Al Davis speed experiments. Coming out of Clemson, he had legit track speed and even ran a 4.28 40-yard dash. But running is about all he could do, and that won't keep you around in the league, as even though Jacoby brought back 3 kick return touchdowns in his rookie year, he couldn't stick, and 2013 was the last time he played an NFL down. For the 17th receiver taken before Antonio, David Reed to the Baltimore Ravens with the 156th pick in the 5th round. Playing college football at Utah, he was considered to lack the ability to get open at the next level, and this is undoubtedly true considering how all he's been is just a bad kick returner. So for the 18th receiver taken before AB, Riley Cooper to the Eagles with the 159th overall pick in the 5th round. Riley played college football at Florida with Tim Tebow, where he won 2 national championships. He was considered an athlete who could catch the ball over the middle, which led to the Eagles drafting him. As a pro, Cooper has been productive, and he had his best season in 2013 under the tutelage of Chip Kelly. Check it out. He finished this year with 47 catches for 835 yards and 8 touchdowns. So for a 5th round pick, Riley definitely exceeded expectations. Now for the 19th receiver drafted before Antonio, Kerry Meier to the Falcons with the 165th pick in the 5th round. Kerry spent his collegiate days playing for Kansas, where he was considered to have high character, but character can't get you open against NFL defensive backs, which is evident by the fact that he had 0 career receptions. So now, for the 20th receiver before Brown, Carlton Mitchell to the Browns with the 177th pick in the 5th round. Carlton played at the University of South Florida, where he used his big body and speed to put himself on the map at the collegiate level. But he could never put himself on the map at the pro level, as he only totaled 3 catches for 31 yards in his career. Finally, for the 21st and final receiver drafted before Antonio Brown, Desmond Briscoe to the Bengals with the 191st pick in the 6th round. Briscoe played college ball at Kansas and was very productive there due to his nice size and hands. As a pro, Desmond never played a single down for the team that drafted him, and after spending some time with the Buccaneers and Redskins, he hasn't played since 2012. With most of my who were drafted before videos, most of the picks make sense at the time, and I'm just being Captain Hindsight. But really, Marcus Easley, Kerry, Meier, Carlton Mitchell, really? It's shameful that in the 4th or 5th round someone didn't take a chance on him. And Antonio's uphill battle from overlooked to superstar can be summarized by a quote from the man himself. And that is, the battle of getting better is never ending.